Hello everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truths. I'm your host, Jennifer Zeng. Recently, China's ambassador to France, Shaye, who caused a stir with his astonishing remarks, including former Soviet Union countries lack the status of independent nations, was rumored to have been sidelined. However, to everyone's surprise, he has made a sudden comeback, resurfacing in the public eye. What does this incident signify? And why are Chinese military aircraft and warships suddenly provoking the United States? Today, let's discuss these two issues. Not long ago, after facing strong international condemnation for his comments regarding the lack of independent sovereignty for former Soviet Union countries, Shaye was reportedly summoned back to Beijing for an explanation. Some analysis speculated that Shaye would no longer be favored once recalled because his remarks has caused trouble for the CCP. It was believed that he would face punishment, possibly being demoted or given a meaningless position. However, reality turned out to be quite the opposite of what people expected. Just when everyone thought Shaye had lost his position, he not only resurfaced in the public eye but also received official recognition from the CCP's official media outlet, Global Times, for his statement regarding the lack of independent sovereignty for former Soviet Union countries. Global Times published an article with the headline, "Freedom of speech in public debate should be guaranteed," says Chinese ambassador to France, Shaye. The article quoted Shaye's interview with the French media outlet Vadou on May 31, where he referred to the criticism against him as attacks and used Shaye's words to say, "We can talk about history, about the collapse of the Soviet Union, but about his historic facts. There was a clause in the Soviet constitution for the republics to leave the Soviet Union, but there were other provisions that gave priority to the sovereignty of the Soviet Union over that of the republics." So in essence, this further affirmed Shaye's statement regarding the lack of independent sovereignty for former Soviet Union countries. Although the spokesperson of the CCP's Ministry of Foreign Affairs had previously stated that Shaye's views only represented his personal opinions and that China respected the status of the member republics or as sovereign states after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Those familiar with the CCP's system would know that without the CCP's approval, Shaye's remarks would never be published in an official media outlet like Global Times. Moreover, after making such a significant political mistake, it would be impossible for him to repeat his previous erroneous statement in a high-profile manner and receive the endorsement of Global Times without the CCP's support. Recently, I shared the story of Chinese comedian Li Haoshi, or House, on Twitter. He faced severe punishment for using the Chinese characters "excellent conduct, capable of winning battles" to describe the two stray dogs he adopted during his performance because those words were Xi Jinping's requirement for the CCP's army. So Li Haoshi was regarded as having insulted the PLA and Xi Jinping. Not only was Li Haoshi taken away by by the police for a criminal investigation, but his career and artistic life came to an end. His company was fined nearly 14 million yuan, and even a woman who expressed support for him with a single sentence was arrested by the police. So in a country like China, where the boundaries of speech are so narrow, any expression that does not align with the official narrative is bound to be censored. Those who dare to make such remarks may even face imprisonment. In such circumstances, who would believe that Lu Shaye's statement does not represent the official stance? Many commentators believe that Lu Shaye's remarks about the sovereign status of former Soviet countries actually reflect the CCP's true position, which has not been publicly expressed but serves as an internal consensus. Lu Shaye unintentionally revealed this internal consensus during a television interview when challenged by the journalist. Perhaps this is also the consensus that has been reached between the CCP and Russia. As for why the CCP has established this internal consensus, it is because Xi Jinping, like Putin, has imperial aspirations. Xi Jinping expressed deep regret over the collapse of the Soviet Union, stating that there is no real man left in the Soviet Union. Deep down, the CCP hopes that the Soviet Empire still exists, just as it desires Taiwan to be part of the People's Republic of China. Another point worth noting is that to counter the exclusion of the CCP from the G7 summit, Xi Jinping invested a huge amount of money to organize an extravagant Tang Dynasty-style Central Asian summit in Xi'an. Not only did it replicate the grandeur of the Tang Dynasty's emperors, receiving envoys from all nations, allowing Xi Jinping to indulge in his imperial dreams, but the CCP also provided a staggering 26 billion yuan or 3.65 billion US dollars in financing and unconditional aid to the 5 Central Asian countries. One might assume that the CCP held such a summit to win over and please the Central Asian countries. So why, shortly after the departure of the leaders of the Central Asian countries from China, did Lu Shaye come forward to repeat the statement about the lack of independent sovereign status of former Soviet countries, including those in Central Asia? Isn't this contradictory? In fact, for the CCP, there is no contradiction in its behavior. The CCP is a party that can change its principles at any time as needed. For example, when Xi Jinping needed strict social control, he implemented the ruthless zero-COVID policy, locking down residential buildings and prohibiting anyone from entering or leaving. Even if a fire broke out in the building, people would be burned alive inside. However, when the zero-COVID policy became financially unsustainable and faced opposition from the people, the CCP could abruptly make a U-turn, allowing hospitals and the public to face a major outbreak without sufficient medication or adequate medical resources, resulting in unnecessary deaths and crematoriums working day and night, unable to cope with the sudden surge in deaths. Therefore, Xi Jinping's so-called goodwill toward the 5 Central Asian countries during the summit, even using the hard-earned money of the Chinese people to bribe these countries, is simply a response to the G7 summit and an attempt to regain lost faith due to international exclusion. So why did Xi Jinping choose Xi'an to host this Central Asian summit? Xi Jinping chose Xi'an as the venue for the Central Asian Summit because it was the capital of Tang Dynasty in China. During the Tang Dynasty, these 5 Central Asian countries were either vassal states of China or considered a part of China itself. During that time, these countries could come to Xi'an to pay homage and offer tributes to the Chinese emperor. Therefore, Xi Jinping arranged a grand feast in the style of the Tang Dynasty. Just like an ancient emperor sitting high above, he accepted the homage of the heads of state from the 5 Central Asian countries, aiming to display his imperial grandeur. He spent hundreds of billions of Chinese yuan showing off his regal presence. In his mind, he certainly hopes that these 5 Central Asian countries do not have sovereignty and become vassals of the CCP. Okay, perhaps Xi Jinping and Putin have already discussed in private the possible redivision of the world map. Otherwise, why would Xi Jinping say to Putin during his last visit to Russia, "Right now, there are changes, the likes of which we haven't seen for 100 years, and let's drive these changes together." Recently, Chinese military aircraft and a Navy vessel have aggressively intercepted American military aircraft and a Navy ship, narrowly avoiding a collision incident. So why does the CCP do this? I believe that this behavior, like Lu Shaye's remarks, is a manifestation of Xi Jinping's recent proposal of extreme scenario thinking, which we discussed last time. If you haven't watched it, please go back to check it out. The CCP intends to exert increasing pressure on the United States and the Western world through these increasingly provocative actions and statements, testing the limits of the United States and gradually making the international community adapt to the growing pressure from the CCP, thus securing more room for its own activities. Therefore, whether it is Lu Shaye's excessive remarks or the provocations by the Chinese Air Force and Navy, they are actually reflections of Xi Jinping's extreme scenario thinking and his belief in daring and being skilled in struggle. Any attempt to interpret the intentions of the CCP with goodwill is both foolish and dangerous. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please double check if you are still subscribed to my channel, as YouTube keeps taking off my subscribers. And if you like my content, please spread my channel and videos or go to my website at jenniferzengblog.com. jenniferzengblog.com. Sign up for a membership or make a donation to show your support. Thank you.